Have you ever felt your joints ache or tighten right before a storm arrives, almost as if your body knew the weather was changing before the sky did? Many older adults quietly wonder about this but rarely talk about it. One of my patients once shared, "Dr. Carter, I can predict a storm more accurately than the Weather Channel, just by the way my knees feel." She laughed when she said it, but behind that laughter was real confusion and real discomfort. And I want you to imagine this for a moment. You're sitting by the window, watching the sky darken, and out of nowhere, your joints feel heavier, stiffer, or suddenly painful, even though you didn't twist, fall, or do anything unusual. My name is Dr. Evelyn Carter, and after more than 30 years caring for older adults, I've learned that this experience is far more common than you might think. Many seniors believe they're imagining the connection between stormy weather and sudden joint pain. But the truth is that your body is deeply sensitive to changes in the environment. Your joints respond to shifts in temperature, humidity, and barometric pressure long before your eyes see the first drop of rain. The science behind it doesn't have to be complicated. When the air pressure around you drops, the tissues surrounding your joints expand slightly. If you already have arthritis, inflammation, or old injuries, that tiny expansion can make everything feel tight or sore. What's fascinating is how quietly these changes can build. You may not notice anything at first, maybe a little stiffness in the morning or an ache when standing up, maybe a sense of heaviness that you brush off as fatigue. But when the weather turns unsettled, those subtle signals grow louder, and your joints reveal what they've been trying to tell you all along. In today's video, we're going to explore why this happens, what these signals really mean, and how you can protect your joints before the clouds roll in. And if you find comfort or clarity in this conversation, I invite you to subscribe to Senior Health Daily so you never miss another guide designed to help you move with confidence and peace. What really happens inside your joints when the weather starts to change? When we talk about joint pain and stormy weather, many people think it's just an old saying passed down from grandparents. But if you've ever felt your knees ache before rain, or your fingers stiffen before the wind picks up, you know it's more than folklore. And after decades of caring for older adults, I can tell you with confidence, your joints are far more sensitive to the world around you than most people realize. To understand why your joints behave this way, let's start with something simple and familiar. Your joints are made up of cartilage, ligaments, synovial fluid, and tissues that protect and cushion movement. They're like a living hinge, constantly working to keep you balanced, mobile, and steady. But they also respond to even the smallest changes in their environment, especially when the weather becomes unsettled. One of the biggest players in this connection is something most people never think about: barometric pressure. Barometric pressure is the weight of the air surrounding your body. On sunny days, that pressure is higher, pressing gently against your skin and the tissues around your joints. But when a storm approaches, barometric pressure begins to drop. And here's the part many seniors don't realize. Even a small drop can cause the tissues around the joints to expand slightly. That expansion isn't dangerous, but if your joints are already irritated, arthritic, or inflamed, that tiny swelling can feel like a lot. It may create a sense of tightness, heaviness, or sudden sensitivity that catches you off guard. I remember an older gentleman named Thomas who could predict every rainstorm just by the way his hips felt. He wasn't exaggerating. When we looked at his patterns, his flare-ups lined up almost perfectly with days of dropping air pressure. His joints weren't magical. They were responsive. They reacted before he could see the dark clouds forming. That's how finely tuned the body can be. Temperature also plays a big role. When the weather gets colder, muscles naturally tighten, circulation slows, and your tissues lose some elasticity. Think about how cold rubber becomes stiffer. Your joints behave in a similar way. Colder temperatures make them less flexible, so every movement feels a little harder, and discomfort becomes more noticeable. Many seniors experience sharper pain in winter or on chilly mornings for this exact reason. Humidity layers another dimension. When the air becomes heavy and moist, especially before storms, it can amplify inflammation in those who already have arthritis. Some people describe it as a pressure from the inside out, a kind of swelling that makes the joint feel full or sore. It's a subtle shift, but your body feels it even when your mind brushes it aside. One of the most overlooked factors is how these weather changes combine. A coming storm often brings lower pressure, cooler temperatures, and increased humidity all at once. Your body feels all three, even when you aren't paying attention. And if your joints have a history of injury, inflammation, or long-term wear, they're even more sensitive to these environmental signals. None of this means your joints are weak. In fact, their sensitivity is a sign of how connected they are to your internal and external environments. They react because they're alive, responsive, and constantly adapting. When you feel pain before a storm, your body isn't failing you. It's communicating. It's giving you clues about what it needs. In the next part, I want to help you recognize the hidden factors that make stormy weather even harder on the joints, the ones most seniors never think about until the pain arrives. Understanding these subtle triggers gives you more control over your comfort, no matter what the forecast says. The hidden triggers that make stormy weather even harder on your joints. As you begin to understand how your joints react to changes in pressure and temperature, it becomes easier to see why stormy weather feels so personal to the body. But there's another layer to this story, one that many older adults never consider. Weather changes don't work alone. They interact with your habits, your daily movements, your past injuries, and even your emotional state. All of these pieces blend together, creating the perfect conditions for joint discomfort to appear suddenly and unexpectedly. One hidden trigger I see often in seniors is the way old injuries respond to the environment. Even if you healed decades ago, your body remembers. Scar tissue, weakened ligaments, or areas of past inflammation can become more reactive when pressure drops. It's almost as if the joint whispers the history of what it's been through. I once treated a woman named Marjorie who had broken her wrist 30 years prior. Every time a cold front approached, that same wrist would ache so deeply, she said it felt like the past returning. Her body wasn't stuck in the past. It was simply sensitive to the atmospheric changes that made those tissues swell and tighten. Another trigger that often goes unnoticed is the presence of low-grade inflammation. Many older adults carry a quiet level of joint irritation throughout their day without realizing it. A little stiffness here, a little soreness there. These symptoms may seem minor, but when a storm approaches and pressure drops, that underlying inflammation becomes amplified. It's similar to gently touching a bruise. It may not hurt unless something increases the sensitivity, and weather often acts as that amplifier. The way you move throughout the day also plays a major role. On cold or stormy days, many seniors tend to move less without even noticing it. They sit longer, walk shorter distances, or wrap themselves in blankets to stay warm. The body appreciates comfort, but joints need regular movement to stay lubricated and balanced. When you sit for long stretches and then suddenly get up to move, your joints may feel stiff or painful, making it easy to believe the weather alone is the culprit. In reality, it's the combination of inactivity and weather that creates the sharper discomfort. Stress is another invisible trigger. When you feel anxious or overwhelmed, your body holds tension. Muscles tighten, breathing becomes shallower, and your joints lose some of their natural fluidity. Stormy weather can often bring a sense of heaviness or unease in the atmosphere, and many older adults subconsciously mirror that tension in their bodies. This tightening around the joints makes them more sensitive, so a weather change that might have caused mild discomfort suddenly feels much more intense. Even dehydration plays a role, and this one surprises many people. Joints rely on fluid to move smoothly, and when the body is even slightly dehydrated, the tissues can become stiff. Stormy weather often brings humidity changes that make people feel less thirsty, so they drink less water without realizing it. That shift in hydration affects the joints more than most people expect. A dehydrated joint is a reactive joint, especially in stormy conditions. There's also the influence of cold surfaces and cold exposure. If your home has tile floors, uncarpeted areas, or drafty windows, your joints may be exposed to temperature drops throughout the day. This localized cold stiffens the tissues and makes them more vulnerable when combined with broader weather changes. I've had patients who swore that only their left knee hurt during storms, and after a closer look, we found that their favorite chair was next to a window where cold air slipped through. Small changes in your routine can act as hidden triggers as well. Something as simple as walking differently because the sidewalk is wet, stepping carefully because the floor feels slick, or standing longer while waiting for the rain to stop can create subtle strain. These tiny adjustments add up, creating more pressure on already sensitive joints. What ties all these hidden triggers together is the idea that your body is always responding to its environment. Weather changes may open the door to discomfort, but the triggers inside your daily life often decide how loudly that discomfort speaks. When you begin to understand these patterns, you stop feeling like a victim of the weather and start recognizing the quiet ways your body asks for support. In the next part, I want to help you understand why these signals often go unnoticed and why so many seniors feel surprised by sudden pain, even when the body has been communicating for days. There's a powerful shift that happens when you learn to listen to your joints before the storm arrives. Why so many seniors don't notice the early signs before the pain arrives. When I sit with older adults and talk about their joint pain during stormy weather, one thing I hear again and again is, "I didn't see it coming, it just suddenly got worse." And while that feeling is completely understandable, the truth is that the body almost always gives small signals long before the pain becomes sharp. It's not that seniors aren't paying attention, it's that these early signs are quiet, gentle, and easy to dismiss when life moves at its own rhythm. One of the most common reasons these early signals are overlooked is simply familiarity. Many older adults have spent years living with some level of discomfort, stiffness, or fatigue. When your knees feel a little tight in the morning, or your hands feel a bit stiff before breakfast, it's easy to shrug it off as just part of getting older. You've adapted to these sensations so well that they blend into the background. But those small hints are often your joints whispering what may be coming when the weather begins to shift. There is also a deep emotional layer. Many people fear what joint pain might mean. They worry that acknowledging discomfort will somehow confirm that their independence is slipping away. So they push through. They keep moving. They try to avoid thinking about the tightness in their hips or the heaviness in their legs. That quiet fear makes it easier to ignore subtle sensations, even when the body is doing its best to communicate honestly. Another reason early signs get missed is because the connection between weather and pain is not always immediate. The storm clouds may not appear until later in the evening, but your joints may start reacting in the afternoon. A drop in barometric pressure can affect the body hours before the rain shows up. When the timing feels disconnected, it becomes harder for seniors to link the sensation to weather. Instead, they assume the stiffness came from standing too long, walking too much, or sleeping in the wrong position. The real cause goes unnoticed. There's also the challenge of fluctuation. Joint discomfort rarely stays the same from day to day. One morning, you may wake up feeling stiff, and by afternoon, the stiffness has eased. Then the next day, the same stiffness returns, but in a slightly different way. These gentle shifts can be confusing, making it harder to detect a pattern or realize the body is slowly responding to environmental changes. When pain finally becomes sharp, it feels sudden simply because the buildup felt inconsistent and easy to explain away. The mind also plays a surprising role. As we age, our brains tend to filter out repetitive sensations so we can focus on what feels urgent or important. Mild stiffness or a low ache becomes normal in the brain's eyes, so it stops signaling that something needs attention. Then, when the weather shifts and the discomfort escalates, the brain reacts strongly again, making the pain feel sudden even though the pattern had been growing quietly all along. Routine habits contribute too. Many seniors don't realize how much their daily patterns influence joint health. A day spent sitting longer than usual, sleeping poorly, skipping hydration, or walking on cold floors builds a foundation that weather can easily amplify. When the storm arrives and pain increases, It feels like the weather is the only culprit, even though the body has been trying to manage multiple small stressors at once. What's remarkable is that once seniors start paying attention to these early signals, everything changes. Instead of being surprised by storm-related pain, they begin to anticipate it. They notice when their knees feel heavier than usual, or their fingers feel a little more swollen. They recognize the quiet tension in their shoulders or the dull ache in their hips. These small clues become tools for early action. They warm their joints before the storm hits. They drink more water. They keep moving gently. They protect themselves instead of bracing for surprise. In the next part, I want to guide you through what you can actually do to protect your joints when the weather turns stormy. There are simple steps, comforting habits, and practical choices that can help your body stay calm even when the skies are not. Practical ways to support your joints when stormy weather approaches. Now that we've explored why your joints react to weather changes and why those early signals often go unnoticed, I want to bring this conversation to a place of comfort and confidence. Stormy weather may be beyond our control, but how your joints respond to it is something you can absolutely influence. And the good news is that supporting your body doesn't require dramatic changes. It only asks for small, thoughtful habits that honor what your joints are trying to tell you. One of the most powerful things you can do is help your joints stay warm and flexible, especially when you sense the weather shifting. Warmth increases blood flow and relaxes the tissues around the joints, making movement easier and reducing the stiffness that cold fronts can trigger. A warm shower in the morning, a heating pad on your knees for a few minutes, or even wearing soft thermal layers can make stormy days feel much more manageable. These simple comforts send a message to your joints that they are supported rather than strained. Gentle movement is another essential piece. When the sky grows dark and the temperature drops, many seniors naturally move less. They curl up in blankets, sit for long stretches, or avoid stepping outside. While rest is important, stillness can make joints stiffer and more reactive. A few minutes of slow stretching, a short indoor walk, or a gentle rotation of the shoulders, hips, and knees can lubricate the joints enough to prevent sudden flare-ups. Movement does not have to be intense to be healing. It just needs to be consistent. Staying hydrated may seem unrelated to joint pain, but your joints rely heavily on fluid to move smoothly. When you're dehydrated, the tissues become dry and less resilient, which makes them more sensitive when weather changes occur. Drinking water regularly throughout the day helps cushion the joints and reduces the sharpness of sudden discomfort. Even a small increase in hydration can make a meaningful difference, especially during dry or windy storms. Another powerful form of protection comes from strengthening the muscles that support your joints. Strong legs, hips, and core muscles act like shock absorbers, reducing the stress placed directly on your knees, hips, and lower back. Over time, even simple exercises like rising slowly from a chair, gently lifting your legs while seated, or practicing controlled steps can build enough strength to make your joints feel far more stable during stormy weather. The goal is not to push yourself. The goal is to create a foundation that makes your joints feel secure no matter what the sky is doing. There is also something deeply reassuring in preparing your environment. Soft shoes with cushioned soles reduce the impact of walking on cold floors. Rugs or carpeted paths protect your joints from sudden temperature shifts. Seating areas that support your posture help prevent stiffness when you sit for long periods. Small adjustments like these may seem minor, but the older we get, the more every gentle choice matters. What surprises many seniors is how much their mindset affects their joints. Fear makes the body tense. Worry makes the muscles tighten. Anticipating pain often creates the very discomfort you're trying to avoid. But when you approach your joints with calm awareness and gentle preparation, you change the way your body responds. You shift from bracing against pain to supporting yourself through it. And in that shift, your joints begin to trust you again. Stormy weather doesn't have to feel like a threat. When you understand your body's signals and respond with care, the fear fades. You stop feeling caught off guard. You start feeling prepared, steady, and more in control of your comfort. And the next time the sky darkens or the wind picks up, your joints won't feel like alarm bells. they'll feel like companions you know how to listen to and support. As we reach the end of our time together, I want to invite you to pause for a moment and appreciate something important. Your body has carried you through decades of storms, changes, challenges, and triumphs. And even now, when your joints speak a little louder during dark skies or cold winds, they are not signs of weakness. They are reminders that you are alive, sensitive, and beautifully connected to the world around you. Throughout this journey, you've learned that your joints react to more than movement. They respond to weather, to emotion, to old memories held in tissue, and to the quiet rhythms of daily life. But you've also seen that your body is not unpredictable. It communicates. It whispers before it ever cries out. And the more you listen, the more empowered you become. Belief, patience, and gratitude are some of the greatest allies you have. When you believe that your body is capable of adaptation and healing, you create space for relief to enter. When you meet discomfort with patience instead of fear, your joints feel supported rather than strained. And when you practice gratitude, even during the difficult days, you begin to see the incredible resilience that has carried you this far. Your joints may react to stormy weather, but they also respond to your care, your attention, and your willingness to move with kindness. Every warm stretch, every gentle step, and every moment of awareness tells your body, "I am here with you." And that message matters more than you realize. If today's conversation brought you clarity, comfort, or even a moment of hope, I warmly invite you to stay connected with us here at Senior Health Daily. Together, we'll continue understanding the wisdom of the aging body and learning how to care for it with compassion, respect, and confidence.